One of the key parts of scaling a service or expert-led business is to codify a methodology so that you can protect it through things like trademark and copyright and have a very specific and organized way in which you're working with your clients. That can reduce a lot of the stress and knowing how you can be getting consistent results. And it also means that you can be developing very specific tools and language to walk through your clients your specific transformational intervention. It could be something like an entire organization's intervention. So maybe you are doing a transformation from a organization that has very top-down leadership into one that's more open and collaborative leadership. That could be a years-long project, or it could be something as simple as helping an individual clean and organize their closet in a Saturday. Whatever it is, it's often helpful to work in either threes or fives. I believe it was Robert Cialdini, who was the professor that was looking at the magic of threes and fives, in particular threes. But it's just ways in which we can cognitively wrap our head around an easy organization. And as you are at first trying to get the general phases out of your head for the work that you're doing with clients, you can tend to think about it at first with a beginning and end. So in these first phases of the project, so in this first phase, usually there's some kind of an assessment, a conversation, checking things out. In the case of the closet organizing, you're going to be going in and looking at everything that's there, making your lists of all the containers that need to be organized. In the case of an organization-wide intervention, you might be doing much more extensive research. What is the kind of feedback from the employee survey? What have been the programs and the feedback about leadership programs in the past? What are, what's information that's really important to that organization in terms of what their goals are for what they're trying to create and why? Generally, there's this first phase where you are doing all of that preparation. And then in general, there is something at the end, which is the wrap up, the turnover, the selling people your additional licensed materials. Always a good idea to be reinforcing training, learning, something like that. But that is often that kind of final phase where you are wrapping everything up in a transformation. So then as you're blocking out the core phases of what needs to happen, it is helpful to go through and name each of the phases. Again, you may already have language around this. A lot of people are using, in a great way, language around a particular approach or methodology, but they just have never really taken the time to be codifying exactly what the steps are that are involved. So you might say in your step one, oops, stepping on the foot there. In your step one, you have your assessment, overall analysis of what it is that's happening. Then you're going to go into maybe your first design with your client about, implementing the step of a new program. And here's all the steps that are involved. And maybe here are all the processes, or here's the particular content of a workshop that happens at that time. Then you go into the next phase and describe exactly what happens next. And then you go into the next phase, etc. Again, something as simple as a closet, like, let me look in there and see what's happening, determine the kind of containers that we need, and then take everything out of the closet. Then we're going to look and we're going to have our keep, toss, sell piles, AKA Clean Sweep, my favorite organizing show ever. And I'm going to work with you in order to be sorting all your stuff in the closet into those three piles. Then we're going to go into the closet. We're going to be building any necessary shelves. We're going to be putting in the containers. Finally, we're going to put everything back exactly as you want it. And then 5, I'm going to be giving you some tips and maybe a little bit of coaching on a once a quarter basis to make sure that you're practicing the kind of skills that don't allow your closet to be messy again. So these are ways that you can start to break things out. Again, from our big organizational year-long intervention perspective, it could be first, we're going to see everything that's going on, analyze the data. Then we're going to be doing our first kickoff workshop with these series of executive leaders to get everybody on the same page. Then we're going to be rolling the information and training out first through an all-hands meeting and then down to that next level of managers. Then we're going to be doing some deep assessment, conversations within the organization, summary. We're going to be evaluating all the results at the end, and determining the exact changes that need to be made and rolled into the next year. You can see where you just have this easy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is kind of a simple concept, but it helps you to contain what you're doing so that it's also easier for your folks that you're working with to understand. Doesn't have to be 5, could be 4, could be 3, but I find that it's helpful for you to be putting things in those buckets. And then when you are laying out specifically what you do, that's where you can say in each phase, okay, in phase 1, we use this particular questionnaire that we send to people. And if I had to evaluate it, okay, maybe I'm like 80% happy with it, but I think it needs to be improved. Then you say the next thing that we do is we have this specific way that we're inviting people to share materials with us into this Google folder. And it's really clear exactly the way that it's organized. That's good to go. Then we use the specific analysis. We review the content according to these questions. And we have these people within our team that are doing that analysis. And then we get the specific output. So you can see that you start to go through each particular step and name exactly what needs to be done. And then specifically from an intellectual property perspective, you are actually naming and codifying the exact things that you do in order to go through those steps. That's where you can get an analysis. And if you get nerdy about it and you want to be real specific about the state of your IP, is where within each phase, you could, let's say, have a list of 5 different things you do in phase 1, and you could have a little bit of codification. Imagine maybe you have a table or a spreadsheet where you could say, again, something is 100% ready to go. I'm comfortable with it. This is a step that we should do that we never have done, but I know that this is critical to the methodology, so let's create this. And currently it's at 0% done. This next item is at 80%, et cetera. So that's the way that you first begin to lay things out. It can be a little bit laborious, but this is where you can start to understand and see any kind of gaps, see things that need to be fixed, notice where you might be using somebody else's IP. And that's when you can think about an alternative so that you can have something that is really protectable. So I hope it helps just to start to get things out of your head. I blame my friends and clients, Lamar and Ronnie Tyler, for this beautiful digital whiteboard. Isn't it cool? Because when I visited their office in Atlanta, they had one, and I immediately knew that I needed to have it. So I miss my whiteboard at our learning lab. But you can, turn it on eraser, erase everything. You can add new colors. So if you're a dork and a nerd about technology like I am, you can use one. But anyway, hope it helps. Again, your methodology doesn't have to be perfect to start, but you do need to begin that process of codification, getting things out of your head. So working in phases of 3 to 5 steps are an easy way to start the process. Have fun, and I'm here to help.